For this video, I'll explain the three stages of matter: liquid, solid, and gas. The vocabulary words are freezing point, the temperature at which a liquid turns into a solid when cooled; boiling point, the temperature where water boils by heat; sublimation, anything solid turns into a gas without first becoming liquid; condensation, water which collects as droplets on a cold surface; deposition, when gas turns into a solid; matter, anything that takes up space and has weight; and kinetic energy is the energy that it possesses due its motions. Liquid has a medium kinetic energy because the particles move freely, so it's less dense than a solid because it's packed together. Liquid particles shake less when it's cold. If it starts freezing, the particles stop moving and turn into a solid. But if you heat up the liquid, the particles move twice as faster and turn into a gas. Liquid can turn into a solid is when the liquid is at the freezing point. The particles start slowing down and start forming into a solid. The kinetic energy slows down because it's not getting energy since it's cold. This process is called freezing, a liquid to a solid. The opposite process of freezing is boiling. It is when liquid turns into a gas. The particles in the liquid start to speed up and turn into a gas. The kinetic energy is speeding up because it gets its energy from heat. This process is called condensation, a liquid to a gas. Solid. Solid has a low kinetic energy. The particles in a solid shakes in place connected to each particle. When solid particles are exposed to heat, the particles move faster and eventually turn into a liquid or gas. Solids are anything that are not see-through and that takes up space. Solids can be turned into sublimation or can be melted. Solid can be turned into a liquid. This process is called melting point. It is when you melt a solid and turns into a liquid. The particle in a solid starts to move around faster. When the particles turn into a liquid, it speeds up because the particles receive heat. This process is called melting point, a solid to a liquid. Solid is able to turn into a gas, skipping the liquid stage. This process is called sublimation. The particle starts to move the fastest in the gas. The kinetic energy speeds up because it is heating up. This process is called sublimation, a solid to a gas. Gas. Gas is the last of the subject for matter. We cannot see gas, but we can use it. Gas has a high kinetic energy. The particles in the gas is far away from each other and shakes the fastest out of a solid and liquid. Gas can turn into a solid. This process is called deposition. Gas can also turn into a liquid. This process is called condensation. Gas can turn into a solid. The process is called deposition. When gas turns into a solid, it is skipping the liquid stage. This process happens when there is no thermal energy in a gas. The particles in the gas starts to slow down once it turns into a solid. The kinetic energy starts to freeze because there is no heat in a solid. This process is called deposition, a gas to a solid. The last stage for gas is condensation. It is when gas turns into a liquid. The particle starts to slow down while turning into a liquid. The kinetic energy slows down because condensation happens when it's cold. This process is called deposition, a gas to a liquid. The end.